Yeah. So this is the content for this first unit. We will start with discussion on statistics. Okay. This is one of the phrase which I like. Okay. So there are three kinds of lies. Okay. Lie, damn lie, and there's something called statistics. Okay. So if we have to convince someone, okay, so what is the way, okay, we need to have numbers to convince whatever argument that we make, okay. I'll give you an example. You must have heard about the Johnson and Johnson's case. Okay, there was a case on Johnson and Johnson baby product where the company was sued for getting involved in some unethical research. Okay, and finally they proved that they used wrong numbers, wrong statistics to convince people that actually whatever they are doing is right and it is good for the humanity. Okay, but later on they proved it that uh, how through using wrong statistics, wrong methods, they had proved that their product is actually working fine. Okay. Maybe I will give you, maybe at the end of the lecture I will tell you, there is one book on this itself. Okay, America's most desired case or something. I will tell you at the end of the session. Okay, so that's this phrase suits very well to the case that was described in the for Johnson and Johnson product case. Okay, so we need data. Okay, we need statistics to put forth our idea in any form. Okay, at any form or in any decision making, we need data set, and that's why this become the statistics become very, very crucial in all cases. And also, if you see the current trend, okay, we all talk about data science. Okay, even if you see all your Facebook ads, okay, or Twitter ads, we can see every day there will be an advertisement in our page asking us to join in the in this classes, online classes, which talks about data science. They will talk about data analytics. Okay, so how do you use the data set? What is that data science and why it is significant is data can give lot of information about people, about business, about the way cities are operating, the way countries are operating, and so on and so forth. Okay, so for example, let us say I hope you are all aware, the Google search doesn't give same result for all of us. Let us say now we are 22 or as a class. If we search for, let us say, Indian politics, you Google search Indian politics and see the results that you get. Okay, the result that you get will be different. All 22 will not get the same result. Why? Because there are certain things that is already stored by the Google platform. The kind of the data set that over a period of time you are using such certain keywords, it's all stored in that database, and when you do a searching, okay, you get some output which I don't get, but I get a different output because of my preferences and priorities. Okay, so the data can give, or data can explain many things, okay, many things about the way in which we behave or the way in which we act, what is our interest, and so on and so forth. Okay, so statistics is nothing but it's all about data, and it's all about the science of data. Okay, so if the technical definition of statistics, if you have to analyze, it says the science of collecting, classifying, summarizing, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting numerical information to assist in more effective decision making. Okay, so this remains constant. Okay, so this will time and again this will come. Why do we need data? We need data for decision making, for all sort of things. We collect data for making decisions on something. Okay, so this will remain constant, but the process, okay, the process of collecting the data, classifying the data set, summarizing the data set, organizing the data set, analyzing using different tools and techniques, and interpreting the result, where our role comes into picture. Okay, here it's all more like mechanical. Okay, till here, or more like mechanical way, collecting, classifying, summarizing, organizing. Analyzing and interpreting is where we should be strong. Okay, so but all this process together is called statistics, and this is done for decision making, any decision making. Okay, so statistical thinking involves applying rational thought and the science of statistics to critically assess data and inferences. So there is a word called statistical thinking. Statistical thinking means our arguments are not based on our wish and whims. It is based on numbers. Okay, so any decision that is conveyed is through numbers, and that is there is a keyword called statistical thinking. Okay, and the most important aspect when we discuss about statistics is data sets. Okay, statistical data. Okay, what is the data? Data are the facts and figures collected, summarized, and analyzed and interpreted. Okay, or for any problem or any subject that we are interested in. The data collected is particularly in a particular study are referred to as data set, and the brief information about the data is called data. Okay, so there are three keywords that you should keep in mind. One is data, and the other one is data set. Third one is datum. Okay, so all three keywords are important, and we should be familiar with this with this terminology. Okay, what is data? We have seen it is like a for example, let us say we have a data set on number of students, okay, and then education, age. Okay, just for example, okay, we have some 100 data about the students, their education, primary education, and then their age, just like that. Okay, data set is for example, this is one data, education is one data, age is another data. Let us assume we have another column. Okay, place of birth is another data. Okay, date of birth is another data. This all put together is data set. Okay, so data is one singular information. Okay, about a particular subject or particular person, and a data set is a combination. Okay, a set of information about the same person, or a set of information about hundreds of subjects on different information. A collective information about a particular problem is called data set. I'll give you another example. Let us say we have flood modeling. Let us assume flood modeling map. Okay, so that map may have a number of data set. Okay, so it will have the city boundary, it will have the buildings, okay, it will have streams, and it may have indentation possible areas. Let us say there are some 6 layers put together forming this flood information map. Okay, flood information map. So this entire set is called the entire information is called data set. Okay, and the third keyword that we should keep in mind, or that we will always come across, is datum. Datum is, for example, let's say we have access to satellite image. Let us say there are satellite images like Landsat. Or list data from Bhuvan, and so on. Okay, so if you go to the website and then or okay, maybe if it is little complex, let us take very simple example. We go to census of India, okay, and then you look for district statistics. If you see this portal, or if you see this information, it will say, okay, we have the following district, 1 to 30 odd, 35 odd districts, and for each district we have following information. Okay, let's say it has got population density, age, and so on and so forth. Okay, but there will be a small description about this, which says this information is collected through 2001 survey conducted in 2001. Okay, and a total sample of so many X number has been taken during the survey. Okay, so that information about the data set is called datum. Okay, it is actually called data about data. Okay, so brief discussion about the data set will be available. Okay, that information is called datum. Okay, so let us say you have a weather file. Okay, we take a weather file, and that weather file may have so many information: temperature, humidity, wind speed, orientation, and so on and so forth. So many solar radiations, and so many other factors will be there. But if you open, or if you just see the main page, there will be the main file. There will be some information regarding the date. Okay, when it was collected, how it was collected, and what is the accuracy of the data set that we have in hand. Okay, so let's say, for example, weather file of Vijayawada. Okay, so the brief information about weather file of Vijayawada's will be, there will be information regarding it. Brief information will be there. That brief information about the weather file is called datum. Okay, I hope you are clear, or I hope I have made it clear. Is it clear for everyone? What is data, what is datum, and what is data set? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sir, this is Rohini. I have a small doubt.
Yeah.
Sir, like you gave the example of that datum right now, that census 2001 wala.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, is it necessary to have just, for example, in this case, there's this datum is census of that the data is collected to census of 2001.
Okay.
So is it necessary that only one datum is there, or there can be multiple datums?
It can be multiple. It can be multiple data. For example, let us say you are doing yourself. okay, let us say you have you went to a market, and then you have done a survey, okay, and then you have collected information about 1,000 people, okay, I'm just telling you, and you are a data provider, okay, you are a data provider about the socio-economic state conditions of this particular city, okay, and you are publishing in your website saying I have the data set for 1,000 people, okay, and these are the condition in which the data is collected. If somebody is interested, they can take the data set. So it is a kind of a brief information about the data set that we have, okay. So suppose I'll give you one simple example, and then probably still if you have doubt we can discuss. We are downloading an image, okay, let's say we are downloading a site image from Google Earth, not Google Earth, let's say from more authentic source, let's say Landsat image, and let's say there are 3 images that you have in hand, okay. So if you go and click before downloading, if you go and click about the image 1, data 1, data 2, data 3, it says data 1 has got 60% cloud cover, data 2 has got 20% cloud cover, data 3 has got 5% cloud cover, okay. It is an image, satellite image with 60% cloud cover, 20% cloud cover, 5% cloud cover, and we all know that we need a clear image, so that means we need less data with less cloud cover, okay. So even before downloading, I get to know that okay, I have 3 data set, but this data is more preferable because it has got less cloud cover, okay. So this information that you get, the brief information that you get is datum, and it can be many things. I'm just giving you one example about cloud cover. It can be about time when it was taken, it can be about scale, resolution, the instruments used, so many things. Datum can have many variety, okay.
So it changes with the context.
Yeah, it changes with the requirements or service providers requirement. For example, let us say the data set in Landsat, they may not talk about building heights, building properties and all, because they are not in that field. So they will be talking from the meteorological perspective. What is the cloud cover? What is the climatic weather condition when that image was taken? So it depends on the data provider and the context. Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other question? Everyone is fine on this?
Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So let's proceed. There are 2 types of data set. Okay. One is called qualitative data and the quantitative data, and this is also very crucial. And based on the qualitative data or quantitative data, the analytical tools that we have in hand will differ quite drastically. So the statistical analysis that is appropriate depends on whether the data variables are qualitative and quantitative, okay. So we will see what is qualitative data and what is quantitative data, so that we have a fair understanding about what are we discussing about. Qualitative data are measurements that cannot be recorded on natural numerical scale, but are recorded in categories, okay. So this is kind of a definition. For example, let us say if you are collecting information about gender, okay, or occupation, okay, these are qualitative information. It can be categorized like this. There are 2 types actually. It's called dichotomic and polynomic, where for example let's say is open ended. If you are collecting information regarding gender, we have only two options or three options. Okay, either you click here or here or here. But if you are collecting information about occupation, it can be hundreds and hundreds of possibilities are there. Okay, so qualitative information is more in descriptive nature. Okay, so and it can be numeric. Okay, the data can be numeric. For example, the age. Okay, let's say you are calculating or you are asking about age. Okay, and it can be non-numeric as well. Okay, how do you feel in this place? Okay, what is your perception about this place? Which color do you like? Okay, qualitative information about any problem that we are trying to define. Okay, so qualitative research or qualitative data collection and analysis is one of the most difficult part. Okay, there are very limited tools and techniques that we have for qualitative assessments. Okay, so that's why when we discuss about appropriate research methods, we always say that we should avoid taking qualitative research method because it is very very difficult to convince, or it's very difficult to prove the outcome. Okay, so qualitative research, but in most of the case, most of the architecture and social science research, although depend on qualitative research. Okay, for example, let us say we do perception survey. We always come across this perception survey about how do you feel about the mall that has come in your city. Okay, what is your perception about for example the school SPA Vijayawada. Okay, or what is your perception about heat in this place. Okay, so these are qualitative information, and the way we collect the data for qualitative research is very different from the way we collect the data for quantitative research. Okay, and then the analytical aspect is also very different, and very limited analysis can be done on qualitative data sets. Whereas in quantitative data set, measurements that are recorded on a naturally occurring numerical scale. Okay, quantitative data indicates how many or how much. Okay, discrete or continuous. If it exactly quantifies. Okay, what is the number? Okay, how much it has an impact, or how many are getting impacted. For example, let us say you are placing a building here, and then we are trying to measure what is the impact of this building on the immediate surrounding in terms of blocking wind. That's the problem. Okay, so we can able to quantify how much wind shadow it will create because of this building. Okay, numerically we can estimate it. Okay, till what extent it will have an impact on the immediate surrounding. Okay, so something like that. So it can be discrete or it can be continuous. That means if measuring how many is called discrete, or if it is how much, okay, it's called continuous. For example, okay, we have some category where one question that you are trying to ask, discrete answers if you are looking for, it is the exact number. Okay, how many occupants are there in apartment A? Okay, there will be X numbers, only 4. In this unit there are only 6 people are there. Okay, in unit C we have 8 units. This is the correct, okay, figures that is assigned to to collect information or to get the information. This is called discrete information or discrete data set. The thing that you should remember is how many. Okay, how much, for example, let's say if you are asking a question on how much, okay, what is the income of these 4 people, okay, it can range, let's say for example from 50,000 to 2 lakhs, or let's say for example 10,000 to 50,000, something like that. Okay, so it can be continuous data or it can be discrete information that that you can think of. And quantitative data is always numerical, okay, and it's always measured in the form of numbers. Okay, and in general there are n number of analytical tools that we have, analytical techniques that we have for processing quantitative data sets. Okay, so this is very and in fact most of the research, okay, scholars and researchers, they try to adapt quantitative research method because it is easy for proving some certain things. Okay, so if you have to prove your hypothesis, okay, qualitative information is very difficult to prove. Quantitative information is what will help in proving the hypothesis or disproving the hypothesis. Okay, so in fact now everything and anything can be measured. Okay, if it exists, there is a saying called if it exists, it can be measured. So I'll give you an example. Can we measure sound scape? Can we measure sound?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
we can measure sound. Okay, can we measure can we measure or can we model the soundscape? Okay, what is we talk about this, right? We talk about I think let me erase this so that I have some space to scribble. We normally model buildings, trees and immediate context, all that. Okay, these are quantitative things. Road is a physical phenomena, physical element that we can model. Building is one, trees are one, immediate surroundings are all one, land is one. All these things are physical aspect that we can model. Okay, there are certain things, these are non-physical one. Can we model air movement? Yes, we do have a tool now to model air movement. Can we model the soundscape? Yes, we do have softwares and devices where we can actually model how sound travels, how sounds can be read and interpreted. Okay, so any subject for that matter now, if we can write it down properly, we will be able to convert that into quantitative data sets. Okay, so that's why this is becoming very important to understand what are the tools and techniques that we have, so that any problem can be quantitatively addressed. Okay, and that is one of the correct way of addressing the design any issues. I'll give you one simple example. Let us say this building, there are 2 buildings, let us assume, and if we say that this building is good, okay, and I say that I have designed this building for good ventilation, with good ventilation it will work fine. Okay, and this is not good enough. This is a qualitative answer, okay, which an architect or designer has given here. Okay, saying that yes, I have designed this building with appropriate window openings and so on, it will work. Okay, this kind of qualitative support or qualitative argument is not good enough to for decision making. Whereas if you give the same information with some analysis, you have used some tools and say that okay, I have placed a window of this so much size with so much WWR ratio, and because of it you can say that there is an air exchange of 6 air exchanges per hour or 8 air exchanges per hour is possible within this because of this openings and so on. Okay, so now we are actually heading in this direction where we actually try to quantify anything and everything that we have in hand. Okay, so that's why this topic also becomes very crucial, where we have to know and we have to understand many things about the tools that we use, the data set we have in hand. So, okay, so I think I will stop. Yes. Okay, so we have briefly seen all this. Qualitative and quantitative data. There was one question regarding if we give some preference. For example, let us say you go to a restaurant and then at the end they say give us feedback, and then there are columns which says poor, okay, good, very good, excellent, something like that. Is this qualitative information or quantitative information? See, this particular information is qualitative. Okay, let's say I have given good. Okay, maybe you may have given okay, some may have given excellent. Okay, these all results put together becomes quantitative information for us to make decisions. Right, otherwise this is a qualitative output that I have given. I like something is qualitative. Okay, so how do you clearly distinguish between qualitative and quantitative information is any question where it is subject to questioning or subject to what is it? Let's say, for example, subject to preferences. I like tea. Like is a qualitative word. Okay, why you like and what are the characteristics because of which you like? If you define that, then it becomes quantitative. Okay, so like by word itself is qualitative. Okay, but I like this because of color, because of the smell, because of the brand. Okay, then this information becomes quantitative. Okay, so that's how you should understand the differences between qualitative and quantitative data. And in fact, probably when we go further, maybe we will be able to see more information. Okay, with examples we can see so that it becomes clear for everyone. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, like you rated the restaurants, so it is a qualitative data if you like it or if you love it or excellent or average.
Yeah.
But today, for example, we give ratings. So the ratings on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, will that be quantitative?
That's what I'm saying. See, single information is qualitative. Okay, you giving one star rating is qualitative. I'm giving 5-star rating is qualitative. But 100 people's star rating put together and then generating some frequency, then that's quantitative. Okay, so if I give a rating for this class, let's say I'm giving 1-star rating, okay, and somebody is giving 3-star rating and somebody is giving 5-star rating. But if let's say my head of the department and he wants to check what is the quality of this class, Then he will take an average of the rating, okay, and then say yes, I think it's 3 star. That's fair. Okay, that's quantitative data or quantitative information that he has got. But whereas as a participant, I have given only qualitative assessment. Am
Okay, sir.
I making it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think probably when we see some examples, things will be clear, I guess. Okay, so we talked about this qualitative data and quantitative data, and there are different scales of measurement. This also we should keep in mind, and how do we measure it, and how it differs, and how it varies from one question to another. Okay, so the scales determines the amount of information contained in the data set. Okay, and the scale indicates the data summarization and statistical analysis that are most appropriate. See, when we collect data, we collect information like gender. Okay, we collect information about name, gender, age, education, occupation, income. Okay, so the answer for this will be different. Okay, name is, let's say, Faiz, gender male, age some numbers. Okay, education, whatever degree I have, and then I'll say what is the occupation, and then what is my income. Okay, so the input that I give varies. Okay, this is called the scale of measurement, the scale of data measurement. It can be nominal data. Okay, this data can be nominal, the data can be entered in ordinal, the data can be entered in interval, and the data can be measured or entered in ratio scale. So what is nominal data? Nominal data is data or labels or names used to identify an attribute of an element. Okay, for example, the simplest example can be list of students. Like for example, we have your own list. Okay, I think I have closed it. Fine, leave it. The serial number, okay, and or let's say registration number 1 2 something, okay, and name, okay, 1 2 3 4 10 names. This is the simplest example for nominal data. Okay, a nominal data can be numeric code, or it can be non-numerical label, or it can be numerical data. I think I can show you this your list, that it's a good example for nominal data set. Okay, so this is also nominal data, and this is also a nominal data. Okay, so it can be see, we have a combination of alphabets and numbers. Okay, and it can be names as well. Okay, this is called nominal data set, where there is no logic in placing these numbers. Okay, there is no logic between 1 and Narayana. Okay, there is no logic. Okay, it is just maybe based on the alphabetical order, or it can be based on some random. There is no link between it. There is no association between this number and the name that we have in hand. Okay, it is just collecting information and then listing it out. Okay, and the only analysis that we can do using nominal data is enumeration. Enumeration is counting. Okay, so for example, I just like I just showed you, we have list of students, and it says 22 students are there. Okay, so that is the only analysis that we can do using nominal data sets. Okay, for example, let us say we have male and female within the class. Okay, so how many male? 12 males and 10 females within the class. Okay, so only thing that analysis that we can do is enumerating the data set. Okay, No further analysis can be done using this, but it can be related to other aspects, but as such the data itself can be used only for totaling or making enumerations of the list. Okay, so that's nominal data. Okay, the second set of data is called ordinal scale. The second set of scale is called ordinal scale. Ordinal data have properties of nominal data, and it is ranked or it is kept in an order. For example, let us say ranking of students based on performance, first, second, third and fourth and so on and so forth. So I told you we have a list of students, 22 students are there, and then we said name. Okay, some name X, Y, Z and so on is there. Okay, now if I create this same list based on the performance in a test, okay, and then I say that okay, this is first, he has scored the highest, okay, first rank and second and third and fourth and fifth. Okay, so if I categorize the data set like this for based on ranks, based on certain parameters, okay, then it becomes ordinal data. Okay, the word order, okay, it is orderly data. Ordinal is taken from the word order. It's an order. There is an order in the data set. Okay, let us say for example the same data set. Okay, name we are ordering it based on alphabetical way. Okay, let's start with A to Z. Okay, this is also ordinal data. Or let us start with age. Let's say in terms of age. Okay, somebody with lowest will start and end with highest age, or the reverse. Okay, or let's say somebody from based on the distance they have traveled to come to SP Vijayawada. Just give an example. Okay, so least distance traveled from highest distance traveled. Okay, so there can be the data set can be also measured or recorded based on the rank. Okay, it's up to us. So this is the second set of data. First was nominal. Okay, so it is just listing without any logic. This will help only in renumeration. The second one is ordinal data, where we apply certain logic, maybe alphabetical order, or maybe from A to Z, or from lowest to highest, highest to lowest, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this will help in making the data in a orderly manner. Okay, and that will help in analyzing things better. Okay, the third data set is called interval data. It is the data have properties of ordinal and interval data between. Observation is expert in terms of fixed units of measurement. Actually, if we have a range, okay, the best example is temperature or income. Okay, so suppose if we are asking the same question, okay, the same data set, let us take it up further. We have serial number, we have name, okay, and gender. Okay, all these three are nominal data. Okay, and then in the fourth column, let us assume that we have added, we have ranked them based on the performance in test. Okay, so now from here this column becomes ordinal data set. Okay, where we have applied some logic to sequence this nominal data. Okay, let us assume we are asking what is the income they earn. Okay, income is not a one fixed parameter, right? It can, let's say for example, it can range from 5,000 to 1 lakh. Okay, so it is a range, interval range. Okay, so we have, let us assume we have 1,000 people to survey, we can't have 1,000 numbers entered in this. Okay, that will be like again collecting the data in the nominal way. Okay, so what do we do when we do such such exercise? We categorize them. Okay, let us make 5,000 to 10,000 as one group 1. Okay, so 10,001 to 50,000. Okay, second group. Okay, 50,001 to 1 lakh. Okay, so now it is an interval data, and where we can just say, okay, serial number 1 falls under group 1, serial number 2 falls under group 2, 3 group 2, group 3, something like that. Okay, so here in interval data, the data is measured between a minimum and maximum number. Okay, so his or her income is not 5,000, or his or her income is not 10,000. It is somewhere between between these two intervals. Okay, so when you see that kind of information somewhere in this in the data set, it's called interval data, and this is also one category of measuring the data set. Okay, temperature is again another simple example. We normally don't give one data, one temperature, absolute temperature. What do we give is, we give a range. Okay, between 26 to 30 we are comfortable. Okay, so nobody says we are comfortable at 27.5 degrees Celsius. No, we don't say like that. We say, okay, we are all comfortable between 26 to 30 degrees Celsius, something like that. It's a range. Yeah, so this is the third set of data. It's called interval data. And the fourth and the last type of data set is called ratio scale or ratio data. The data have all properties of interval scale. Variables such as distance, height, weight, and time is measured using ratio scale. This scale must contain a zero value, and that starts that indicates that nothing exists. Okay, before zero. Okay, here if you are actually, we are not recording it in the range. Okay, we don't want to categorize the income in this category. We want only absolute numbers. Okay, we can also collect such information, okay, for 1,000 people, and that information will become a ratio scale, where the minimum is there's no data less than 0. Okay, it all starts at minimum of 1, and then it goes as high as that. Okay, so it is an absolute number without zero being recorded in the data set. Okay, so there are 4 types of measurements you should keep in mind. One is nominal data, ordinal data, interval data, and ratio scale. Okay, nominal, I said we have very less analytical opportunity in nominal data. Okay, ordinal data is in data in orderly manner based on hierarchy, based on the lowest and highest, and so on. Okay, here interval is a range. Okay, let's say the age, I told you age, collecting information regarding age. We can also do that. Okay, people with age between 20 and 22, people with age between 22 and 25. Okay, so then it becomes a range of data collecting it. Okay, and of course it depends on different based on problems we have to use this. I'll give you an example for this with respect to the COVID case. Initially they were saying, right, people with less than 10 years, okay, they hardly had any impact. Okay, and similarly people with more than 50 years, they had very severe impact. Okay, so this is kind of a range. Okay, 50 and above, 10 and below. So this is kind of a data set that we can categorize, and then we'll take it up. Yeah, so these are the 4 types of data sets or scales of measurement that we should keep in mind. So to summarize, we have data, So the data can be quantitative in nature, it can be qualitative in nature as well. So quantitative, or like I told you, quantitative is numbers. Okay, there is no descriptions. It's all measured in numbers. Okay, and we can do many analysis. Okay, interval and ratio scale can be used to use all quantitative assessment, whereas in qualitative data, okay, the data collected can be numerical or it can be descriptive, it can be text as well. Okay, so the only analysis that can be done is enumeration, okay, nominal data, or you can order it, okay, based on the high, low, something like that. Okay, not beyond this. So if you are trying to collect some information, you should keep in mind what analysis that I am trying to do. Am I going to grade them, or I'm going to do little more than that. Okay, so this is the summary for all the data classification and the scale of measurement that we have in hand. Okay, so that's about data. And once we have the data in hand, okay, it can be interpreted in two different ways majorly. Okay, one is called descriptive statistics and another one is called inferential statistics. Descriptive statistics, the word itself defines. Descriptive statistics utilizes numerical and graphical method to look for patterns in the data set, to summarize the information revealed in the data set, and to present the information in a convenient form. Okay, so we were discussing here, we have name, serial number, name, gender, then I think we said performance in test, income, okay, locality, something like that. Suppose if you are given a data set like this, using this we'll be able to describe the data sets. Okay, for example, let's say there are 1,000 people in this survey, and with an average age of so much, with a male participants of so much, with a female participant of so much, and the average performance in the test is so much. Okay, so it is all descriptive in nature. We describe the data and we try to present the data set in a descriptive manner. Okay, so descriptive analysis is also is one of the major classifications of statistics. Okay, where we describe the data set, okay, collected for the benefit of others. Okay, so the population or a sample of interest, there are certain characteristics of descriptive statistics that we should keep in mind. The population or sample of interest, okay, what is that? I will explain you. One or more variables to be investigated. Tables, graphs, numerical summary are used in describing descriptive statistics. Identification of pattern in the data set. Actually, here we have 1,000 samples. Okay, 1,000 is a population. I think there is one example. I'll explain you. There are, let us assume 1,000 people are there in this study, but we'll not be able to survey all the 1,000 people. Okay, so we will be studying some 100, we'll be interviewing, we'll be taking survey from 100, and then we will make a comment on all the 1,000 people. Okay, so that's how normally the surveys take place. Okay, total enumeration is not done, only representative samples are taken. Okay, I'll give an example. During every election time, okay, just there will be a big news, right? Pre-election poll results, or post voting poll results. Okay, so they don't actually take the survey of all the ones who was voted, okay, but they take some sample, some 1% sample or 5% sample, and then they say that okay, this is the general perception about all the people in the country, okay, and they give a outcome. And we are all aware that sometimes the whatever inferences that one from the data collected from 1% or 5% holds good, okay. Sometimes it goes against this also, okay, because the population is huge, but representative sample may give correct answer sometimes, it may not give correct answer sometimes, okay. So the keyword that I would like you to remember is this is population and this 100 is a sample, okay. So this is what the word used here. Population is the total number, okay. Sample is representative of this population, okay. Let us assume there are 500 students in this campus, and we take a survey of we take a random survey and we interview around 100 people on how they rate the building here, okay, and then we are getting some results out of this, okay. So based on this 100 samples, we say that okay, the building is looking very nice, okay. That's the observation that we have got here. The population is 500, okay, the sample is 100, okay. So when you say a sample of many people like this building because of the form and something like that, that means it is not the entire 500 people have responded, okay. It is only a fraction of sample is has responded, and that is acceptable from the statistical perspective, okay. There is a that's how you understand between what is the population and what is the sample size, okay. And many variables can be examined under descriptive statistics, okay. It can be many information can be collected and investigated through descriptive statistics. And what is the best way of representing the descriptive statistics is in terms of tables. I just showed you. We have list like this. We make a list and then start summarizing it. And also we can plot graphics in the form of pie charts or bar charts or something like that. That's also used to describe this particular data set. Identification of pattern in the data set, okay. Let us assume when we have collected this 1000 samples like this, probably we'll be able to see okay 50% or more in the range, this is income, so 50% of people or more 50 or more percent of the people are earning between 10,000 to 50,000 scale, okay. There is a pattern in the data set identifying this kind of results, okay. Or let us say in performance, okay, only people with a background of so and so is performing well, okay. This kind of identification, okay, this is also one characteristics where I did, okay, where was it? Yeah, I was telling you about COVID cases with respect to children, with respect to aged people, okay. So this is also a kind of trend or kind of observation, okay. They have observed over a period of time that the children are less affected, whereas the people of this age are higher than 50 are affected more, okay. So that kind of inferences or identification of patterns in the data are possible using descriptive statistics, and that is the crux of descriptive statistics. And then it is applied for other aspects. Okay, the second aspect of statistics, the second aspect in which the data can be interpreted is inferential statistics. Okay, and the word we know, inferences. We always say write the inference for this. So that means the data is collected and then we try to interpret the data sets. Okay, inferential statistics utilizes sample data to make estimates, decisions, predictions, and other generalization about the data set that we have. Okay, so some of the characteristics are just one second, interference. So I was talking about this the second aspect. Okay, it's inferential statistics, where we try to draw some inferences. Okay, based on the data set we have. Okay, population of it depends on population. One or more variables can be interpreted. Sample of population units, the inferences about the population based on sample data, a measure of reliability of inferences. For example, let us say the same box will go here. Now let us assume we are trying to inference based on the data set. We say that okay, people with background of XYZ is performing well. This is an inference that we are trying to take from the data set. Okay, but that may not be true for all the case. Okay, but this is one of the kind of inferences that we can draw. Okay, so in descriptive statistics we just say that what is happening, how much is happening, and we don't discuss about why it is happening. Okay, so here we try to say why, and probably here it is all like what, how much, all can be defined in the descriptive statistic. Okay, the question of why it is happening, how it is happening is inferential statistics. Okay, so we try not only to describe the data set, we also try to say maybe because of this this is the outcome. Okay, so here this is what we actually expect from all of us when we say kindly analyze this building, take this case study and analyze. Okay, many a times what we do is we say that okay, this is the case is located in this location, the area is this, this is the architect, these are the area statements, and this has got so many floors, and they have used solar panels, this, that. It's all inventory we do, it's all description we give. We give descriptions about the case studies. We actually don't talk about why. Let us assume they have used solar panels. Okay, we don't describe why they have used solar panels, maybe to get incentive, or maybe the solar there's plenty of opportunity for trapping the solar energy and so on. Okay, so this kind of inferences is actually what do you say, this analytical thinking has to be developed so that the data can be inferred for many ways and in many directions. Okay, so there are certain elements. This is a major two. The entire statistics can be described into, one is on description and one is on the inferences. Okay, and there are certain keywords that we use when we discuss about statistics. It's called experimental unit. Okay, it can be is an object which can be through which we collect the data. It can be on person, or it can be about place, it can be about a thing, it can be about an event. Okay, an experimental unit. Okay, so suppose if we are questioning about preferences of a particular color in a building. Okay, and it is about people's perception. Okay, so here the experimental unit is the people. Okay, or if we are talking about a particular place, let's say in this context how it will work. Okay, if you have a building here and this is your site, and how in this context how it will work, or if it is a reverse one, how this will perform. Okay, or in a location called Chennai, how this building will work, in a location called Leh, how this building will work. Okay, depending on place can be worked out. It can be based on thing, it can be based on a particular event. Experimental units. Okay, that's one element that we should keep in mind. Okay, it can be on anything. It can be on a product, or it can be on a event. Okay, and so on and so forth. I explained about this. Population is a set of unit in which we are interested in. Okay, typically there are too many experimental units in a population to consider everyone. So we actually take a part of population called sample. Okay, so if we have to know, like I told you in the regarding the election results, we can't survey all the people. Okay, so we take a sample and then we make a judgment. Okay, based on this 5% sample, I think the country is voted for this person or that person, something like that. Yeah. So if we can examine every single one, then it becomes census. This is one of the thing that we should also keep in mind. Census is total enumeration. Okay, all the people will be interviewed. Okay, whereas in the other samples, not all the people will be interviewed. Only selected a percentage of people or persons will be interviewed, and then collectively the outcome will be described. Whereas in census, it's 100% enumeration. Enumeration, I hope you are getting familiar with the word. Enumeration is total, totally taking into count. Okay. And another word that we will use in the statistics is variable. A variable is like a property of individual element. For example, let us say we want to analyze what is the perception of people regarding color. Okay, color is a variable here. Okay, or we want to analyze, or we want to know the preference of people regarding a particular place. Okay, with respect to climatic condition, with respect to economic opportunities, with respect to education feasibility. For example, let us say we have SPS, 3 SPS, Delhi, Bhopal and Vijayawada, right? So if we have to do some assessment, let's say perception assessment. Perception is a variable to assess these 3 SPS based on people's, how they perceive these 3 institutions. Okay, so here the perception of people become variable. Okay, variable is a parameter of assessment. That's how you can remember this. And I told you a sample is a part of the entire population. For example, this is the entire population, and we take a fraction of it and we call this as population, and this is representative sample. And this representative sample we will use to comment on the entire population itself. Okay, for example, this is another example for car. Okay, we take some random cars and do a testing, and then we say that okay, based on this sample we say that these are all working fine. Okay, so sample is a representative numbers taken from the population. Okay, and last component that we will always come across is measure of reliability. Okay, I make a judgment based on this. Let us assume this is 1000 people are there, and I have surveyed 100 people, and then I am making one judgment, okay, on 100 people based on the survey that I have taken. Okay, so the outcome of my survey is subject to various uh, various conditions. Okay, and my results can be questioned, and the reliability of my survey varies. Okay, that's why I say that you can and it will normally be given. Okay, 5% up and down. Okay, my results can be interpreted 5% up and down. Okay, it's called measure of reliability. Okay, or I'll say that okay, yes, I have got a result, but I think it will be plus or minus 10% of my result. Okay, so that is also important, because there are a lot of uncertainty associated with the data set. Okay, so that the measure of uncertainty is called measure of reliability. For example, based on our analysis, we think 56% of soda drinkers prefer Coke to Pepsi, and then there will be plus or minus 5% here and there. Okay, so measure of reliability is we are trying to give an answer based on our samples. Okay, and how accurate are our results and how reliable are our results is defined by measure of reliability. Okay, so I have put some examples. I think by now we all must be clear what is a population and what is a sample. Okay, for example, we have 250 students are there, and if we have analyzed, or if we have taken samples from around 80, so 250 becomes population. Okay, and 85 is our sample. Okay, so what is sample and what is population, you should be clear. And what is, let's say for example, we have a data set here. What is quantitative and qualitative data here? I told you all numericals or all alphabetical informations or qualitative data sets. All the quantitative data are measured in numbers. Okay, qualitative data set and quantitative data set, you should be in a position to understand it. Okay, and also what is descriptive and inference statistics? I think there is one example. If you read this, in a recent study, volunteers who had less than 6 hours of sleep were 4 times more likely to answer incorrectly on science tests than were the participant who had at least 8 hours of sleep. Okay, so this is one statement that we have got. So if we have to define this, what is descriptive here and what is inferral here? Can somebody explain? What is descriptive and what is inferral statistics?
Sir, the sleep is descriptive and the test, the marks and test is inferential.
The marks entered is
6 hours of sleep that the person is having is descriptive, and his marks or the marks are inferential.
Yeah, and can we go a little more than that? Inferral, okay, that descriptive is okay, but inference can be taken slightly to next level. If you think little more, we'll be able to give more inference on
Yes,
this.
sir. For example, the inference can be like, without having 8 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep reduces your productivity.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So the same thing, if you have to say the statement 4 times more likely to answer incorrectly is descriptive. Okay, and an inference is drawn from the sample is that all individuals sleeping less than 6 hours are more likely to give incorrect answers than the individuals who sleep more than 6 hours of time. Okay, so based on these are very simple examples, so that we know what are we discussing. I have put these examples, and in fact more examples are given in the book. We can read about it as we proceed further. Okay, I think I will stop here. Maybe these things we will discuss in the next class. Yeah.